Today's guest has made his mark coaching baseball and football in and around the Minot area. Joining me now, it's Fred Nelson. We're going to get into all your different coaching stops that you've had, but let's just start right at the beginning about what led to you wanting to be a PE teacher and a coach.
I suppose, just my experience growing up and being involved in sports and all the lessons that taught me and the fun that I had doing all that stuff, I guess just kind of led me to where I am now.
If you pick out a handful of mentors maybe that had an influence on you growing up, who would they be?
First two that come to mind, I definitely have to say Todd Larson and Andy Latch. They were the two Vista coaches back when I was playing, and those two had a big impact on me. Really forced me to grow up in different ways, and really had a big reason to me wanting to become a coach and do what I do now.
It's got to be nice to have those guys around a lot of the places that you've still been in, whether you're still coaching or not, right, Fred?
Yeah, absolutely. They're always fun to see, fun to talk to. I communicate with both of them regularly, and yeah, absolutely, you're right.
Yeah, so when you were coming up here, where did you rank, I don't know, maybe yourself and then the other best players of the Minot teams?
Like, what do you mean?
Playing
my team?
Baseball. Who are the best guys on that team?
Oh, gosh, Tyler Lundy, Zach Elgie. We had Ryan Bollinger at the time, who was just a freshman, but he was just a freshman at the time when I was a senior. But he's now he had a little stint up in the majors with the Yankees, and he was good back then too. I don't know if I'd say he didn't start for us back when he was a freshman, but I was so lucky to play with so many good players. It was a lot of fun.
They're all looking up at Fred Nelson, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So one of your stops here, I know you from one place and then another, but even before then, tell me a little bit about those glory years that you had in Lewis and Clark with baseball and football.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was my first teaching position out there, and with that came an assistant football job and a head baseball job. That was my first head baseball coaching experience, and it was awesome. I wouldn't trade it for anything. There was a bit of a drive back and forth, but the kids out there were great, and they were willing and eager to learn. We actually had a lot of talent out there too, both on the football field and the baseball field, and we were fortunate enough my last year out there to make it to the state tournament, and we didn't win any games at that state tournament that year, but I'm willing to bet we played the three most entertaining games of that tournament when we were there. All one-run games, and it was a lot of fun out there.
How do you think that some Class B programs can be good consistently? Is it, especially like in the Lewis and Clark area, is it like there's one massive family of awesome athletes, or what?
I think it's got a lot to do with the program and the coach and what they do. Obviously, I know talent kind of comes and goes and different things like that, but I think so much of it has to do with what the coach does and how they treat their players, and just because once you build a program and get that thing going, I think there's an excitement that builds that you can get built with kids seeing your program, wanting to be a part of it, wanting to do what the kids before them are doing, and kind of following those footsteps.
Yeah, so you get down to South Prairie and end up coaching at Bishop Ryan. That must have been pretty clutch and convenient in order to have like that little dash South Prairie on the co-op there in order to coach Bishop Ryan, huh?
Yeah, it ended up working out really nice. I spent 3 more years there at Ryan coaching those guys, and had 3 successful seasons when we were there. Made it to the state tournament, one of them, and came up just short the other 2 years of getting to that state tournament. But coached a lot of good kids, had a lot of fun, won a lot of baseball games, and yeah, it was a great time.
Do you manage anything differently in like a spring Bishop Ryan season versus like the summer Metro season that you used to be a part of?
Yeah, there's a few things that are different. The biggest one is pitchers. Coming up in the spring when the kids haven't haven't maybe been throwing quite as much. Their arms aren't quite in as good a shape as they are going to be in the summer. So you manage pitchers quite a bit different at the beginning of the year. But other than that, a lot of it was kind of, a lot of the same philosophies and same verbiage you'd hear me and my assistants saying.
How much does maybe like a region championship in spring ball compare to winning titles in the summer for you and the kids?
It's all different. Because some of those, especially at Bishop Ryan, there were, I don't know, I think of this last year, I think there was 2 kids on that Bishop Ryan team that played summer baseball, or 3. There was 3 this last year. So some of those kids, that's their baseball that they get, and it's a little different. It means something to those kids when they're doing it for the school, as opposed to, I guess, the town, when it comes to summer baseball. And then when I think back to my time at Lewis and Clark, I know those kids lived for high school baseball. It was I guess something a little different. Because growing up, personally, we all looked forward to summer baseball because we got to play every day. No school. You wake up, go to the park, play, do it again the next day. But out in a lot of those small towns, I think a lot of those kids, high school baseball is it for them, even though they might play in the summer. But for whatever reason, the high school season is what they like better.
So you've got your coaching hat on, whether it was with the Lions or the Metros as of late, and say you're in a situation where you're backed into a corner a little bit. What is your go-to cliche to throw out when you're talking for the news?
When I'm talking to the news?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I guess I'd have to be put in the example. Put me in an example. What do you mean? What kind of question are you asking me?
I'm asking you, we're getting ready to play Surrey. You guys have a lot of history here. In this edition, how do the Lions come out on top?
I'm probably going to say something along the lines of, we just got to play our game.
We got to know that what we're capable of. We know that they're a very good team over there. Bottom line, we got to get on the bus and be ready to win a baseball game, right?
There you go.
Perfect. So you were talking a little bit when you moved over to Jim Hill, I believe, and you took over a football coaching job with Minot High as an assistant. You were saying, boy, I guess you don't have to talk to me anymore because I'm not the head guy right now. But tell me a little bit about the responsibilities that you do have or have had as a football coach, maybe positionally, or maybe did you say you were the head gig over in Lewis and Clark, or were you assistant there too?
I was an assistant at Lewis and Clark too. Okay. I've never been a head football guy.
Okay, so what kind of positions do you cover in your assistant capacities?
So I haven't coached football for a couple of years now, but my first year at Jim Hill 2 years ago, I did. I was an assistant on that staff, and I've done a lot of linebackers and running backs. Spent a little bit of time with receivers, and gosh, I think that might be about it. That's pretty much where I've stayed: running backs, receivers, and mostly linebackers. I did a little bit of quarterback work when I was at Lewis and Clark, just a little bit, not a whole lot.
The temperament of a football coach could potentially be different than a baseball coach unless the baseball players screw up in the middle of the game or something. So with that in mind, do you get in the boys' faces when you're yelling at them in your assistant football coaching career? Are you the quiet tactician or what?
No, I've pretty much been the same coach all the time. Anybody that's seen me coaching baseball, I'm stay in the dugout, say what I need to say, and I'm not too big on the yelling and hollering and stuff like that. I'll cheer my kids on when they do good things, but no, I've never been much of a get in your face type of coach.
Ever been ejected?
I have not. As a coach, I have not.
Oh, there we go. Just another perfect record. Everybody that comes on the show has a perfect record all of a sudden. I love it, Fred. Very good. So we're going over a couple of your Class B stops, and you get back into the Minot Public Schools area. Why do you think, because I've seen this a lot of teachers on the younger end of things, you can take that as a compliment still, I guess. Why do you think teachers like maybe getting a gig and then working back towards Minot area?
I think there's multiple reasons or multiple factors that could go into it. I guess for some people it might be a commute, that they don't want to commute. For other people it might be goals of becoming, getting back to where you used to be. Like for me, I grew up in the Minot public system. I've always wanted to teach in it, and now I am. Other people, it might have something to do with some money. There's different, every district pays a little bit different. You end up getting your master's and things like that, continuing your education. Different schools pay differently and reward you for doing different things like that. So I think there's a lot of different reasons for people trying to get, if they start in a smaller rural area, trying to get back to Minot.
I remember when you got to Jim Hill, I think you posted something about it was your dream job. Was it because you were there as a kid over all those reasons, would you say?
Yeah, that was part of it, and I also actually did my student teaching here at Jim Hill, and and I loved it. I loved the experience that I had here as a student teacher, and I remember leaving on my last day thinking, if I can find my way back to that school and work there, that'd be, the dream.
If you student taught at a different school, do you feel like you would be as serious as wanting to be at Jim Hill as you are today?
I don't know, because I might not know exactly what being at Jim Hill was if I hadn't, been fortunate enough to student teach here. So that's a good question that I guess I don't have an answer to right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sure. So when you've gotten to these different teaching jobs, and maybe, you have several friends that have played sports and also coach in different areas around Minot too. Has the coaching openings kind of come natural with each of these jobs, or have you had to just straight up teach for a bit and then coach?
I've been pretty lucky where, my first teaching gig, out at Lewis and Clark, when they hired me, they asked me what I coached, and I told them had some experience in baseball and football, and they said, perfect, we got those openings for you. And then when I moved over to South Prairie, it was kind of the same thing. They needed a baseball coach at Ryan, and we started co-oping with them, and so it kind of fell in my lap that way. And when I came to Jim Hill, one of the first things I did after I got hired was I called Barry Holman, who used to coach football, be the head coach of the football team, and I called Pete Stenberg, the head baseball coach, and told them I got hired and would be interested in something. And at the time, Barry Holman had something, and he got in touch with me a little bit later and got me on board as one of the freshman assistant coaches. And right away, Stenny didn't have an opening, and I actually ended up getting on that staff I bet it was about 2 months before the season actually started that first year, 3 years ago. But yeah, like I said, I just, things kind of opened up, and I got a little lucky, and things kind of fell in my lap.
We did this for a story on the news a couple of years back where all these co-opted athletes, and it fits in with your example because I went to Lewis and Clark because they all have to go to friggin' McCody. I talked to boys that, I hope I'm saying this right, Tagus above Berthold, doing all these commutes. And you're a teacher. You have to teach all day. You have to balance getting your prep work done and all your grading. How do teachers that coach kind of balance this workload when not only you're busy as a coach, but the commute was there for you at a couple stops? Even South Prairie wasn't around the corner from Bishop Ryan-South area.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of time on the road, a lot of time spent in a car sometimes, and I think that just gives you a lot of time to think, and I think that's an asset at times, just to kind of game plan about different things. What am I going to do in school? What are we going to do at practice? What are we going to do, different situations? And I think that's a big part of it. Yeah.
So, speaking of cars, I want to get you out on this one unless I think of anything else, is a little behind the scenes. What was it like on the set of those Corey, you better stick to fixing cars baseball commercials?
Well, those commercials were pretty fun to make. Nick Hulberg was running that, and Hulberg just like I do, and he's always a good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How many takes did it take?
I don't know, a couple. There was a couple.
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3. I don't know, not too many. It was a pretty smooth process, I thought.
Who was the better actor between you and Scott Ewell?
I think Scott might have been the better actor. I can't take too much credit on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like, what's the scouting report on this guy? Just such vanilla baseball talk. I doubt you guys talk like that in the dugout for real, right?
Yeah, he added a quick little one-liner in there on me, and I wasn't quite ready for it. So I'd give him the nod on that.
Ad-lib kind of threw you for a loop. Got a little bit of sweat and blush going on, or what?
Yeah.
Fix the makeup.
Yeah, there was no makeup on that set.
All right, very good. Well, looking forward to your next acting credit that you will have, Fred, and we'll see you around here at a couple of the games here moving forward. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, you bet, Ben. Thanks for having me, man.